This is Anita Wood, and welcome to this topic snippet video, which looks at the question of why projects fail. We're going to compile a list of reasons that have been identified as to why projects fail. But before we can discuss this list, we must define what a failure looks like. To make things easy on ourselves, we're going to look at what must be accomplished for a project to be considered a success. And when we have that checklist, we can use it to identify projects that fail. In the software development domain, we have a tight definition of success. For a project to be successful, it must meet these three criteria. It must have come in on time, on budget, and have the desired functionality. This list looks very simple, but it's very hard to achieve. First, you must have all three items, time, budget, functionality, to be considered a success. Miss one, and the project fails. Here's a project that missed only one of the criteria of success. Let's look at how it ultimately is a failure, even though it met 2/3 of the criteria. That's 66%. In some domains, that's still passing, but not here. Project A was a mobile app that was written in response to Hurricane Ian, which occurred in September 2022. And the victims were to use this mobile app so that they could process their insurance claims. Now, it was delivered May 22nd, which was a miss, because May 22nd is in the spring. It did hit being under budget by $100, and it did hit on the claims were accepted and processed as required. The project reached 67 of our fictitious grading scale, but it failed. If you look beyond the numbers shown here, you may find that because the app was not delivered until spring, after FEMA closed its application process, insurance companies followed suit. They also stopped accepting claims for damage because of the hurricane. Many people would be impacted. Many, but the number is unknown. Just because it's under budget and had all the features, it failed because it did not deliver in a timely fashion that would be valuable to those that it was created for, the people filing insurance claims. Next project, smaller in scale, but a scale should not be considered when discussing project failure. Here we have a small restaurant that is currently using order pads to take orders, finalize bills, and to restore inventory. This type of system would typically be called the point of sale. The restaurant wants to automate their system, which is error-prone and really time-consuming. They were hoping to have it in place before the summer season starts. The project met the criteria. It came in on time. And when it was demonstrated to the restaurant owners, they found it had all the functionality they required. However, when the bill came to pay for the program, it was more than $5,000 over what they expected to pay. In order to pay the programmers, the restaurant had to lay off some people. Though the POS system expedited sales and inventory control, there weren't enough people to actually take, make, and serve the food. The project failed, and at the expense of the restaurant workers. One more project. Programmers were hired to create a website for my dog walking business. The intention here was to provide an online presence for my business that current pet owners could log into and new customers could register for my service. My business runs on a calendar fiscal year, so I wanted to have the website up and running before the first of the year. Programmers delivered the project on time and under budget. But with these stories, there's always a but. The website didn't have the capabilities for the people to register and log in. Since that was the main purpose of the website, I was forced to hire another programmer to fix what was not complete. And now my small dog walking business is in the hole for $1,000, It's going to take me almost 3 months to recover that money. As you can see, just having a project come in on time does not guarantee what they delivered was successful. Though, let me be clear, many projects are developed and delivered without making the mark of all 3 of our success criteria. You probably are using something right now that wasn't up to our standards. It's okay, but it's not great. Keep in mind, we're trying to define success and failure so we can understand why various people and organizations created specific software development methodology that are going to be discussed in the next topic snippets. Without this understanding, people tend to go rogue. And when they go rogue, they're designing software and they're doing it using alternatives, not one of the given methodologies. I'm showing you that when you understand the alternatives here, you know the why when you're told how. We know success is evaluated, so we can identify when a project is a failure. There are some specific reasons people have identified projects fail. So let's look at a few of them. The first is lack of communication. We're going to start a discussion on the lack of communication with a story. This story first became popular in the 1970s, and many people have adapted it for their particular needs, including those working to manage software development projects. The analogy depicts how a customer explains a tree swing they wanted, and how each department interpreted and implemented the requirements during product development. Here we're using a tree swing, and it makes a great visual, but I am sure we can all extend the tree swing to a software application like my dog walking business. What we will see from the story is how often projects do not go the way those involved expect due to issues. So here's what happens during a project development. We'll start up in pane 1. The client's going to make a request. First, they describe what they want. When a customer describes what they want, it's often an understatement of what they need or an overstatement of what they need. They're not quite sure. They just know they have a want. So in pane 2, we go into requirements gathering. The requirements are gathered by the project owner and now are summarized to how the customer explained it to them. 3, we're going to go into the analysis of the requirements. Project managers and designers, or analysts, they're going to translate those requirements into manageable tasks to kick off the project development. If you're following along, we're here at 4. Software engineers follow those requirements and make it work to some extent. So the program goes to testing and QA. Testing is having a real difficult time relating to the delivery product and relating it back to the summary requirements from pane 3 that were presented to them. The tested product's not going to work as expected. What they received and what they deliver after much back and forth from the software developers is depicted here as a noose. It's apropos for the future of this project. Whoop, I'm not done with my story. Sales. The product, even though it's not workable, will be sold as working bug-free software. The sales team can start their job by exaggerating its features. Now we're down here. The empty picture. Documentation. Customers are interested in the product, and when they are, they're going to look for documentation, but they're to no avail. Operation is going to use that documentation, and they need it for the installation of the product. And as you can see, there's been very little that they've received, and there's going to be even less that they can deliver. Number 9, our roller coaster. Regardless, the customer is going to be billed. And the roller coaster is a bit of an overkill, but remember, no matter what the bill is, the customer is going to feel exploited because the product delivered to them is useless. It doesn't stop there though, because support's there. And customers are going to start calling tech support to figure out what they need to be doing with this product. How can they fix it? And there will be people answering the phone. But remember, without the documentation about the product, they, too, have no idea what it is. So they can't help the customer at all. Be aware, there's another group, advertising. This group, way back here. And number 2, we're really excited to hear about the product being designed and got involved early. And, as they do, the project that they can work on, they see it working in other problem sets and industries, so they start advertising the product so others could take advantage of this incredible new iSwing that they heard about. And back to the poor customer. In reality, what the customer truly wanted was a simple tire swing. Instead, they got a rope that's nowhere near what they expected. Like some customers, sometimes they're unable to put their real needs in words, or they over-exaggerate what they needed. This is a good representation of one major issue why projects fail: communication. We're going to remember this issue, and in later topic snippets, see how different methodologies address it. So let's look at some more scenarios to add to our list of why projects fail. Here's a list of challenges that we should avoid when we are planning and designing software. Lack of resource planning. We plan timelines, we plan meetings, we plan structure and themes and interfaces, but sometimes in the midst of it all, that project planning that we've got, we forget to plan our resources. It's a huge contributor why projects fail. Project management involves resource management, often taking other projects into consideration, meaning this may not be the only thing your people on your team are responsible for completing. Most of us know that financial resource planning is important, but we also have to make sure we have the technology and the people. Second one here, unclear goals and objectives. One way to almost guarantee project failure is to begin work without clear project objectives and goals. We should be remembering our tree swing. After all, there's no way to know whether you succeeded when you aren't completely sure what you're trying to accomplish. So let's think about this. Take a simple example on a personal level. Let's say you resolve to enjoy my personal life. What does that mean? Spend more time with your friends, start a new hobby, go fishing and hunting more, read more books. If you simply start spending more time with your friends, you'll most likely enjoy your personal life more, but you won't truly know if you've succeeded in enjoying your personal life as a whole. You need well-defined goals. Having unclear goals in your professional life is just like lead to a failure, as it will here in projects. Lack of project visibility. No matter how well planned your project is, lack of visibility can lead quickly to failure. It's essential to create a project management system that provides visibility, not just for the project manager, but for everybody involved. Visibility includes project transparency. The transparency should involve the tasks and their status, provide clear communication, and good document management. Scope creep. It seems so innocent at first. A simple customer request to be added to item here, a brilliant idea to expand a service there, and before you know it, your scope of your project has outgrown you and your team, the finances, and the time you have. Scope creep happens when either the parameters of the projects are not well defined from the onset, there's pressure from internally from the team or externally from the customers to take on tasks that were not part of the original project. So you must be very careful and lead with a strong hand and the ability to say, no, we're not going to do that right now. We can do that in version 2. Finally, unrealistic expectations. Sometimes disguised as dogged optimism, unrealistic expectations have destroyed many projects. It's absolutely essential to gain a clear picture of what can be accomplished and in what time frame. You have to align your expectations with reality. Now that you have the cloud of doom hanging over your head, I need to make sure that you're aware that everything around software development is not dark and filled with failure. There are many approaches you can take to help your project succeed. I said help, not guarantee. Over the years, various people and groups have spent countless hours trying to address the project failure problem, and they've created numerous strategies and methodologies that we can follow. In the next few topic snippets, we're going to discuss some tried and true software development methodologies that are out there. So this concludes the topic snippet that looks at the question of why projects fail.